All right, guys, welcome back into another NFL bets. Bet in the house with Hazy. We got Hazy here back for another good week after the really solid week one.
Yeah, man. Our locks came through this week with Seattle and your big play there, Green Bay -6, teasing them all the way up there. So yeah, good 2-0 start for our locks.
And like you even touched on you're like, hey, I think the Jags can win this one. I think Washington can win this one. You touched
Yeah,
on those. And then even like the small like little player props that I was saying to do, those would have all hit as well, which was kind of like I went back and like listened to them like, oh shit, those actually did well. So,
yeah, and yeah. Washington 17 straight points, 27 straight points. Sorry, against the Eagles. Eagles are a mess.
they are a mess. When Lane Johnson went down, like I had a lot of Carson Wentz in like DFS, and I was like, when Lane Johnson went down, I was like, this. He got his like two touchdowns early, and then after that, I was just like, oh boy, now I'm a little bit worried.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got the live stream going. We also have the U.S. Open going. So if you see me and Hazy just randomly glancing off during the video, that's what we're gonna be looking at. Just because we got the cut sweats going. I know for me personally, I got a bunch of like Brian Harmon, and I just have like a lot of just random cut sweats going with builds. So that's what we're looking at too as well.
Tiger, man.
Tiger, that was
7 over today through 12 holes. My God.
it would have been fun if he would have done well. But at least Patrick Reed's dominating everyone's second favorite golfer ever. So glad to see he's winning.
Exactly.
But
Patrick Reed. He's cheating out there. There's no other way. He's probably tapping the lie down in the rough. He's getting up and down from everywhere. So something has to be going on.
no, I swear that's why they put him in the featured group to make sure that he couldn't cheat.
Exactly. 100%.
But we'll get back into beating the house with Hazy. We'll have Hazy started off the games here. Which game are we going to start out with?
I guess we'll just go in order here of what they have listed. It's the Atlanta Falcons at the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay.
Cowboys -4. Atlanta did get a kind of a garbage touchdown there at the end against Seattle, but I think Seattle's a way better team defensively than the Cowboys, especially with Leighton Vander Esch now out for 6 to 8 weeks with the collarbone injury. Over at 53.5. If I was to go in any direction, I think I would just rather bet the over in that game. I still think the Dallas Cowboys offensively, just like I said last week, the Atlanta Falcons just remind me of the Giants towards the tail end there with Eli Manning. So I like the Cowboys -4 this week.
Yeah, that's a game where I feel like I don't have a very good judgment on it, so I'll just trust trust what you got there. So I think we can move on to the next one pretty well there. I will say Blake Jarwin being injured, that kind of sucks. I thought he was going to be a good like season long tight end, but for fantasy football purposes, but
Yeah,
whatever.
out for the year now, torn ACL.
Yeah, that could hurt them a little bit more than some people might think, but
Yeah. And CJ, what's his last name? Uzuma last night too with a torn Achilles. Like that's two like good tight end options that are gone for fantasy this year.
yeah, sneaky good tight end options, yes, for sure. And you saw how often Burrow was targeting the tight end. That was pretty crazy how much he was targeting them.
Yeah. And even your buddy Sample there at the end. What a fantastic name. But moving on here, Bills at the Dolphins. Bills -5.5. Tremaine Edmonds and Matt Milano are both out this game. They're two-star linebackers. Offensively, I think the Bills have a better linebacking core than New England and a way better secondary. And we saw New England hold them to 11 points. I would hope that the Bills offense has one of those weeks that's like, okay, we're going to go out there, score 28, 30 points, and, give our defense a week off. Because these, like I said, Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer are probably the two best tandem. They're the best tandem safeties in the NFL, in my opinion. Not just being a Bills fan, I think both of them back there are just unbelievable for the Bills and what they do. So I like the Bills -5.5 this week.
Yeah, I agree, and that's another one where I would kind of maybe suggest teasing it a little bit. The Bills were very impressive. If just like because I go back and watch all the film on the games, the Bills were the most impressive team last week in the NFL, just top down. Yes, Josh Allen made some pretty bad mistakes, but overall they were the best looking team last week.
Yep, and yeah, exactly. And running was a little bit of a concern, the run game, but when they had it blocked and figured out well, they were successful. Yeah, two games in agreement here already. It's so we're moving pretty good.
As
Carolina,
right.
Carolina at Tampa Bay -8. That's another one where the over/under is 47.5, and I would just bet that one because Carolina can't stop anybody. We saw what the Saints did to Tampa Bay last week, and obviously, I'm not saying Carolina has that same offense, but you still got the best running back in football, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Teddy Bridgewater is not a slouch. So I think I'd just rather bet the over 47.5 there because these two teams are going to score.
Okay. Yeah. So Brady obviously struggled, kind of like I was saying that he would. I think you said that as well, that Brady would struggle. So that wasn't a surprise for us. So I think I would lean more towards the Panthers for me on this one, just given the point spread. But I would definitely agree with your approach to kind of just bet the over under. That would definitely be the approach I'd go there. But we're in some quick agreement here early on. This is going.
I know. We got to start doing some fake arguments.
Right.
Maybe we'll be in disagreement, or maybe not with this next one. Denver at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh -7. I thought Denver played pretty well against Tennessee. I know they missed 2 field goals and an extra point. So let's or 3, whatever it was. You give them 10 extra points. It's a 26-14 game. You know, Jerry Jeudy dropped a couple balls, especially at the end of that game. 1st and 10 on Tennessee's 44 with Denver up by 1. He catches that RPO on 1st down. He runs for 25 yards. It's 1st and 10 at the 20, and they're just running it, and they win that game. So he had some crucial drops, and I don't really like. Yes, Pittsburgh had one of the best defenses in the NFL last year, and they get Ben Roethlisberger back. But you know, they were down 10-3 against the Giants team. They beat them by 8 or whatever it was. Like, and all of a sudden we're making them world beaters again, and the greatest team of, you know, that they're this powerhouse, and I don't really understand it. So I think 7 points is a lot in this game. And with James Conner a little bit banged up, I know he's going to play, but don't know how much. I like Denver +7 this week.
Yeah. So for me, this game comes down to which team is better. Are the Broncos better than the Giants? Like,
yeah.
So I agree as well. It's like, this is a pretty crazy point spread to me. Just what you said, for all the reasons you just said. I don't really get why it's not lower. The Broncos were pretty impressive last week. I know that.
Yeah, they played well defensively.
Yep. And the Steelers, they were good. It was the first game of the year with, you know, Big Ben being back. Deontay Johnson, James Washington, and Juju all looked great. Benny Snell looked way better than he has ever. But I don't know. I just feel like this point spread is just too much. Or for Denver to be +7, that just seems too much. I could see them being a field goal game. I could see them winning it. It's week 2. Like, that's just way too high of it for a team that looked that good. So
yeah, and I just think that the Pittsburgh Steelers are being overhyped with their win over the Giants, and I thought the Giants would be better this year, but clearly they're not.
They were offensively.
15, yeah, offensively made, but 15 carries for 6 yards for Saquon. Like, that line needs a lot of work.
So I want to touch on that a little bit further. So Jason Garrett's play calling was not set up well for how the Steelers were defending the run. They were pretty much selling out to stop Saquon Barkley, and Jason Garrett did not do anything to like offset that with his play calling. Yeah, he was just pretty much comfortable with, I'm going to have Daniel Jones bomb it to his receivers. And to be fair, that was working somewhat, so you can't overly blame him. And just, I think Melvin Gordon's going to be a good play for DFS this week as a result of that as well. Just throwing that out there.
Yep. Detroit at the Packers -6.5. I think Green Bay is going to crush them this week. Everyone, Galladay's out. They have so many injuries. The Lions, and I don't see how this game remains even within 10 or 13 points. I think Green Bay covers this number rather comfortably.
Yeah, no real disagreements with me there. I think Green Bay is going to cover this pretty well, pretty easily there. Detroit looked a little bit worse than I thought they would, but that's also just because they were without Kenny Galladay. Quintus Cephas, though, he had 10 targets. His like expected point total last week was like 13. And DFS purposes, he hit value, which was pretty sweet to see. Adrian Peterson was surprising as well. He looked good, but
they
just find ways to lose, and it's so frustrating with that.
DeAndre Swift, man.
Even before that, though, it's like, guys, just play smart, and you're gonna win this game. Like, Trubisky was playing horrible, and Trubisky did not play that good. He had like 2 good passes, and they somehow let him score 25 DK points. So,
yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a scoring fest though in this one. Like the Packers were great defensively last week, but they let up some big plays. They kind of took their foot off the pedal there. So let's see what the over under here is. It's almost 49.5. Do you have that as well?
Yeah.
I was hoping it'd be a little bit lower than that. I would maybe still bet the over on that just because I think this could be a scoring fest. I know DFS wise, I'm going to be attacking it pretty aggressively.
Well, yeah, we know Matthew Stafford. They're probably going to be trailing majority of that game, so they're going to be throwing it for sure.
Yep.
Jacksonville at Tennessee. Tennessee minus 7.5. I don't know. I think Jacksonville still might be one of the worst teams in the NFL. And like we were talking about earlier, Gostkowski missed. I'm pretty sure it was 3 field goals and a extra point there. So yeah, I don't know. I just Gardner Minshew magic. We saw it last year and then it faded away. They just don't have any real weapons. And Phillip Rivers, if it wasn't for Phillip Rivers, the Colts easily win that game. So I like Tennessee minus 7.5 this week.
Yep. And for me, I got DK Sportsbook here pulled up. They have it at 8, which is not as appealing, but still, I would think about that there. I do. I think that they're going to dominate them. I don't know if I want to tease this one at all, but it'd be pretty close. For the reasons you just said, the Colts dominated that game. They didn't win it, but they did dominate it. So
yeah.
It's close there. I would just put them in there. And would you use this as your one and done pick? I know a lot of people used them last week. Would you just hedge with the Colts here, try to get ahead?
Yeah, I don't know. I think Tennessee is probably going to be the highest bet team this week in terms of survivor picks. So yeah, I'd agree with you.
Yeah.
Rams at the Eagles. Eagles minus 1.5. I know the Rams are traveling east, but man, I almost want to bet the Eagles because it's a must win for the Eagles. Like whatever the stats are of teams that start 0-2 of making the playoffs is not good at all. But I think the Rams are just a better team, and Morikawa almost chips in for birdie. That would have been nice. Great shot though, but. Yeah, I think the Rams are just a better team, and I think the Eagles they need to do something. And I don't know if it's maybe move on from Carson Wentz or what, but like blowing a 17-0 lead to Washington is just something you can't do. So I like the Rams plus 1.5 this week.
Yeah, so for me, this would be my lock bet. I kind of want to put that in as a graphic here, but they're going to be my lock bet at that number. That's, plus one, minus one, yeah. Sorry. That is insane. I would tease this one as well. I'd probably give it at least a touchdown here. This is a game that I really like. The Rams were very impressive. They reminded me of what they were a few years ago. And defensively, they're a pretty solid defense. You want to say Washington's front seven is one of the best in the NFL, and that's kind of why they won that game.
Yeah.
Sure, that's fine. But the Rams, their defensive front isn't horrible. They should be able to get the same amount of pressure on Wentz, and he's not going to have time, and he's going to kind of get that. I don't know. He started making mistakes when he realized he didn't have time. You kind of start to panic. He did that a lot. If he does that against the Rams, this game is going to be a blowout, and I really do not get that.
Yeah. And Aaron Donald's just a beast, man.
He is, and I don't know. This game's going to be a blowout, so I would attack it accordingly.
Yeah. And this is my lock of the week.
Oh, the next
Minnesota +3 at Indianapolis. I don't understand this line at all. Minnesota put up 30. I know they were trailing, late touchdown, whatever the case may be, but Green Bay has a way better defense than Indianapolis, and they still put up 34 points or 32 points, whatever they did. I don't see Minnesota going 0-2 to start the year. Offensively, I think they're a better team as well. I just think in every facet of the game, special teams, offense, defense, they're just the way better team. And the way Indianapolis is playing, I honestly think they're going to have a tough time winning 5 games this year, unless they make a quarterback switch. Phillip Rivers looks awful. I love the Vikings this week.
Interesting here. I don't know. I think the Vikings looked horrible too. That's my problem with it. And you got.
But I think it's a much tougher opponent, Green Bay, than Jacksonville.
I agree, but I might have messed this up a little bit earlier, but like Phillip Rivers is the only reason why they were still in the game, that Jacksonville was still in the game. If he cleans up those sloppy turnovers, the Colts absolutely dominate this game last week. So that's kind of my thing, but we've seen it with Phillip Rivers. If the game's close, Like he just makes mistakes. He's the opposite of clutch. So
Told me, yeah, exactly. You're like he's anti-clutch, and yep.
yeah, I'll go with you here. Though I'll take the Vikings. I know my buddy with bets with Brooks or beers with Brooks, if you want. He is a Vikings fan. He went against them for what's that's worth. But he's also living in Indianapolis now,
That
so
that's a happiness hedge, though. It's like, yeah, you bet against Indianapolis, and if they lose, like
that's exactly
you're
what
not
it is.
you're not that mad because they're your favorite team and they won the game. So
That's exactly what that is for sure. It's like when I in March Madness, I always put like a Wisconsin bracket together with Marquette or Wisconsin. It's like, oh, that's kind of how you hedge that. Just if they win,
exactly.
it's fun. But if whatever,
You're laughing.
yeah.
Giants plus 5.5 at the Bears this week. I think the Bears are still one of the best defenses in the NFL, and maybe Jason Garrett will make some adjustments, but I think the Bears are just. I think the Bears are going to win this game by a touchdown as well, especially being at home. Um, the Giants didn't really show me anything offensively to trust them, and especially with that decision making by Daniel Jones at the 10-yard line. Instead of just throwing the ball out of bounds, just throw it out. It's fine if you don't get it, just kick the field goal, and then he did that. I don't know, and I think you know. Allen Robinson's going to explode this game. I really do. I think with him being pissed off and all the drama around that, I think Mitch is going to do as good of a job as he can to get him as many touches as possible, and whether that be screens or whatever the case may be, jet sweeps. I think the Bears win this game by at least 7.
I love the way you phrase that, as good as he can, because
Yeah, exactly.
no, but I agree. I think they're going to force feed Allen Robinson the ball, but I also don't mind Anthony Miller. You saw him kind of break out again last week. This is for me. This kind of feels like a stay away game.
Yep.
I would kind of just stay away from it, but
I agree, 100%.
yeah.
49ers at the Jets. 49ers 7-point favorites. Okay, they're flying all the way across the country, and this happens with every team that that loses Super Bowl. I don't know. Maybe I was talking to you about this or my other buddies, but like saw it with Carolina. We saw it with Denver when they lost to the Seahawks. It's really just the Patriots that when they lose, they're good. Atlanta, the Rams. I don't know what's wrong with this team. And look, it's probably crazy to even want to pick the Jets. But without George Kittle, defensively, the Jets aren't half bad either. Like that, the beginning of the game was really, really bad for the Jets, and that really just shot themselves in the foot, and they had no chance. But 7 points, that's too many. Like San Francisco really did not impress me last week at all against the Cardinals.
Yeah, you're kind of talking me into this. You're right.
And you're wearing jet green today.
You're right. Dude, I got the whole green ensemble going on. You're right. Jets.
Jets.
You're right though. So I hope my boy Michael P. Ryan plays. Just that's a random thought out there. I think he's a great back, and I want to see him play. With Le'Veon Bell being out, great opportunity here. But you're right. Kind of the hangover effect for the 49ers. They're a little bit banged up at the receiver spot, so they're a little bit easier to cover. The Jets were one of the teams last year where it's like, how did they end up decent? Like, what? And
yeah.
I think that's kind of going to be what happens here. You're right. +7 is just a little bit too high. So this would kind of be a game I would stay away from, but I agree with you there. Like, just a little bit too high. And would we be surprised if the Jets win this one? No. They're kind of a similar team, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised either. And, the only thing with Le'Veon Bell out, but to be honest with you, he's really done nothing since he's been wearing the Jets uniform. So
exactly.
Yeah. Washington football team at the Arizona Cardinals. Washington +7. Like you said, they might have the best front seven in football. I know Arizona is much better offensively this year and defensively, but yeah, you know what they say, defense travels, and especially with no fans this year, there's no real home field advantage. Or limited fans, there's no real home field advantage. I like Washington +7. It's a touchdown for a team that plays that well defensively. I like the Washington football team.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I was just messing with the slide here a little bit, so covered our faces there trying to get the point spreads up there. But Washington, man, they look good. Who'd you say there? I couldn't listen completely there.
The Washington against Arizona?
Yeah.
Just about how their front seven, like you said, is one of the best in football, and that's a whole touchdown that defense travels, and I think that's too many points.
Yeah. Do you think Arizona's going to win though?
They might win, but I would like look talk about mental toughness and with Ron Rivera head coach now, Washington's is well coached and down 17-0, they could have thrown in the towel, but they kept battling and scored 27 unanswered. So that says a lot to speaks volumes about that team.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. I feel like +7's a little bit too much. I do think the Cardinals are going to win
Yeah.
because I think Haskins is horrible so far. Yeah, yeah. Honestly, they don't have an established run game just yet. I'm struggling with that one. I think it's. You're right. A 7's a lot for a team that did look good defensively, but
You can take Arizona, and then that way one of us has to be right. It
okay,
could be a push, but like one of us would either be right, wrong, and push, we tie, whatever. So you can
okay.
take the Cardinals.
We'll do that, I guess.
Ravens at the Texans. Ravens 7.5. That's another game where I think the Ravens second lock of the week. Houston cannot stop a nosebleed, and it really looked like they needed that number one receiver. If only they had a number one receiver against Kansas City that they could have thrown the ball to, it would have been nice. But at least David Johnson does look good. He didn't look great in the tail end of his Cardinals career, but he looks rejuvenated a little bit. But yeah, I think Cleveland has a better defense, I think, than Houston. We saw what they did to them. So I like and Bill O'Brien being a head coach should automatically deduct them 5 points at the start of every game. So give me the Ravens -7.5.
So I don't mind Bill O'Brien. I think he gets a lot of beef that he shouldn't get. And I don't know. But Brandon Cooks was a little bit injured. First game with David Johnson. They didn't look horrible, I didn't think, on Thursday Night Football. And it was Thursday Night Football as the first game. I think some teams really needed the preseason. And we kind of saw that with some of the teams. I'm not saying Houston was one of those teams exactly. But I don't know. I think Baltimore's a little bit juiced up here. Like,
You're taking the Texans, Eric.
I think I am. I think I'm taking the Texans here. I don't have like this is another stay away. Like there's been like
Yeah,
four
yeah.
stayaways, but yeah, I'm taking Houston here. Say it with conviction. There we go.
There you go. That's your second lock of the week. Houston plus seven
No,
and a half.
it's not. No, I don't like to give out live bets.
Yeah, yeah. KC at the Chargers, man. My buddy said to me earlier today, and so right, like you saw what Cincinnati or what Cleveland did to Cincinnati yesterday. He's putting up 35 points. And the Chargers must have been sitting there and be like, they could barely put up 16 points against the same defense. And now you throw Kansas City into at the Chargers.
Yep.
I think the Chiefs are just going to obliterate them again. If I could have a third lock of the week, it would be this one, -8. I don't see how the Chargers score more than 17 points with Tyrod Taylor, and I don't see how the Chiefs don't score 30. So if my math's correct, that's 13 points at least of a difference. So -8, yeah, give me the Chiefs.
Yeah, you summed it up. I mean, the Chargers were just garbage with Tyrod Taylor. He just played horrible, and maybe that was just a first bad game. He hasn't started a game in like 3 years, so maybe that was the case. I don't know. They looked horrible though. The defense was all right. But you're right. Like the Bengals, or last night I was attacking all over the place because I'm like, Cincinnati's defense is horrible. Chargers should have dominated them. They just didn't have good quarterback play, so they didn't. You're absolutely right. What you said 8? I got
8, yep.
I got -8.5 for Chiefs on DK Sportsbook. I would still probably do that. This should be a blowout, although it is a divisional game for whatever that's what.
Whatever that means right now, yeah. But
exactly.
usually games are close when they're within the division, just the intensity or whatever. But yeah, this one just has a blow written all over it.
Mm-hmm.
Sunday nighter, New England at Seattle. We saw what Bill Belichick said about Russell Wilson. It's so true. He's probably I honestly think he's right. He's the most underrated player in the NFL. I know people still think he's unbelievable, but like he doesn't get the love that he deserves, and he hasn't in his career gotten one single MVP vote, which is just incredible to me. So, and they're -4 at home against New England. Yeah, Seahawks all day long, -4. Cam Newton just doesn't get like okay, he ran for okay, great, he beat Miami like this, and it's a lot different than playing in Seattle. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I would say you could say that the Seahawks are a top 5 team in the league right now. I don't think that'd be a stretch to say that.
Nope.
And you're right, Russell Wilson should have some MVP votes. Actually, he probably should have won the MVP a couple of times here. So
You say Russell Westbrook or Wilson?
Wilson, I might have said
Yeah,
Westbrook,
I
dude.
think
You
you said
know that
Westbrook.
he's always on my brain. Great
Yeah, exactly.
player,
Yeah, yeah.
my favorite
Tell,
player.
tell,
In
tell
case
the audience. Yeah, exactly. I was just say, tell the audience that he is your favorite player.
he's my favorite player from college. I was like, this guy's gonna be awesome, and then obviously he became MVP. So for what that's worth, it sounds like my Bucks are gonna get him too in the offseason. I don't know if that's true, but that'd be pretty sweet for me personally.
I think because you said he was going to be a good player, he ended up like if it wasn't for you, I don't think he would be the player he is
No,
today.
he
So
he
you
definitely
should give
saw
himself a pat on the back.
he saw a couple of those tweets. He's like, man, this air posing guy need to come through for him. So
Yeah,
so
exactly.
he did
Hasn't
that.
reached out to you yet, but he will.
He well at the end of his career, you know, he doesn't want to
Yeah,
jinx it or anything like that. He
yeah,
has to win
exactly.
at least another MVP with the Milwaukee Bucks and maybe a championship too. So after that, though, definitely
Maybe.
happening. But
Yeah.
Russell Wilson, Seahawks -4. How much would you tease that all?
I think you're getting a good enough number. Like you could totally see a 24-20 game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you don't want to risk it or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I mean the only thing that the Patriots have going for them is their coaching. Like they might be able to coach this game to keep it close, but I think the Seahawks are by far better than them as a team. That's at least what Week 1 game film told us. So I definitely like the Seahawks here. Definitely putting that in as a pick. I wouldn't almost lock that in, but it would almost, if I had a lock bet available, I would say that. But I'm only going to give one lock bet.
This NFL betting went pretty quick, 20 minutes, wherever it is, and we're on the last game.
Right.
Saints at the Raiders. Raiders opening up their new stadium. Saints -5.5. I think it's safe to say Tampa Bay has a better offense than the Raiders, and I know Brady doesn't start off the fastest, but I think, like you said, they're the top five NFC team. I think the Seahawks are the best team in the NFC, and right behind them are the New Orleans Saints, followed by the Green Bay Packers. So Saints -5.5. I like that number a lot, so I'm going to take the Saints too. A lot of favorites this week, but I mean, well within reason to think that these teams are going to cover these spreads.
Yeah, so a little bit of disagreement here for me. I actually really like the Las Vegas Raiders. I think they're a pretty solid team overall. So I think they're going to be a team that can surprise like a lot of people each and every week, like on a random Sunday. I think that they look like they could be a playoff team. Now, yes, they kind of dominate on the Carolina Panthers, who don't look like they have a great defense. And, Vegas kind of struggled defensively as well. Really comes down to is Michael Thomas going to play? If he doesn't play, or if he's hampered at all, I could see that the Saints struggle a little bit offensively. So yeah, I kind of like the Raiders here to establish the run
Yeah.
and then be able to like sneak into a possible victory here. So I don't really feel great about that one either. I mean, there's a few bets here throughout the week or throughout this video that we touched on that you can bet on aggressively, but there's a lot of stayaways, and I think this would be one of them.
Yeah. Without Michael Thomas, it's going to be interesting to see how the Saints offense works, but probably going to see a heavy dose of Alvin Kamara, more than they did early on last week. But yeah, Sean Payton's a genius offensively, so I'm sure they'll figure something out.
Well, exactly. They could. It's kind of like the Patriots when like a star player would get injured. They just reinvent the wheel for that week and then get at it. So you're right. I could definitely see that. How are our boys doing? I'm checking here. Brian Harmon, cut sweat.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I like. Look, I don't like seeing TPC Boston -30 win, but like this kind of gets boring after a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's just like it's too much carnage. Like at least throw in like 4 or 5 birdie holes. You know what I mean? Like I don't have a problem. Like okay, we know 6 is a birdie hole. Patrick Reed just rolled it in. Fuck sakes.
It's fucking A.
But and then 9. There's really only like 2 birdie holes the whole course. Like I get it. Like but 5 is playing 500 and whatever yards. It's the top 514 yards. I think the rough is so penal. Like it's just a grind to watch. Like it really is. I thought I would enjoy it more, but I'm not enjoying it that much to be honest with you.
You're right. Like for Thursday and Friday coverage, it's not that fun to watch. But I think like Saturday and Sunday when they just show all the good shots, that'll be a lot more enjoyable to watch.
And my bets stink right now. So $65 on Morikawa on 17 at 250 to 1. I'm like, yep. Made that 30-footer for birdie, 4 over right there. English is on right now. English has a chance, man.
English has a chance. Xander has a chance. John Rahm has a great chance as well. Thomas Peters has a good chance as well. I know.
Thomas Peter's still 34-1. Um, yeah, three back at the moment. Honestly, it's probably gonna be Bryson just because he's like 7 strokes gained tee to green this week, and realistically, that's the only number that anyone should be looking at. If you're even looking to bet guys at 2 or 3 over, like
What about
I don't care if they're like putting, they're losing strokes or whatever. Like, if you're not gaining any strokes tee to green, it doesn't matter how good your putting is. You will not be contending this weekend.
what about Berger or Webb?
Webb's on the back 9 right now. I don't know how he is doing. Webb since in 2 over par for the tournament. Yeah, I wouldn't mind him. Just like for long shot odds purposes, you're not going to grade on him. But yeah, I mean, he's a U.S. Open champion. He knows what it takes to get it done.
It's 40.
Tiger rolled another birdie putt 5 feet by.
Got him at DK Sportsbook. Webb is 40-1. Berger is 66-1. I like that's pretty decent. I'm looking up Dietrich because Thomas Dietrich. I touched on him and Thomas Peters. Thomas Dietrich is still 350-1 for a guy that has played pretty solid through the first 2 rounds, which is pretty interesting to me.
You look, man. Honestly, you could make a case for guys at 5 over par that still have a chance for in this. Like, you go out there in good conditions. We saw what Tony Finau did at the BMW Championship. Go out there, shoot a 65 somehow. You get to even par after the 3rd round. Like, that's going to be probably tied for the lead.
Oh yeah, I agree. And like, so are there, other than our boy Thomas Dietrich, are there any other ones you would go with? Deep shots. Adam Scott, Adam Hadwin.
I have Adam Scott already. I was going to say him maybe if he cleans it up a little bit. Adam Hadwin's a good tough course player too. He's at 3 over par right now, but he's on the back 9, which is obviously the tougher of the 9s. Yeah, Daniel Berger, like you said. Lee Westwood, he seems like I would love for it to be a guy that just gets it done. You know what I mean? Hasn't won a major yet. To see him win it would be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Hovland maybe. That's not a terrible one. I like Tony Finau too, man. 2 over par. He's really been grinding. I hope he gets it done this week.
Yeah, Finau's been looking good. Actually, pretty impressive this week. I thought he was going to struggle with the tougher conditions, and he really hasn't. No, maybe.
What is he actually?
I got him pulled up. He's
34-1.
Yep.
I got him at here,
and he's T16 currently, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, that's right in it.
Zach Johnson would be an interesting one if it starts to play a lot more difficult. That's the only one. He kind of crumbled today. I think he was like +6 today. Maybe he goes even par tomorrow and then +3 the next day.
You never know.
Yeah, he's a weird one. But yeah, we wrapped this one up pretty quickly for the betting side of it. It's week 2 though, so like you're not going to have that much conviction because I touched on this on like the NFL write-up. It's like teams kind of switch a little bit from what we saw in week 1, and we really just don't know that. I feel like I know less about teams this week than I did last week.
Yep. I think the offenses have an advantage so far through the first couple of weeks. But yeah, it takes a few weeks before you really know what certain teams are.
Yeah, and even like just showdowns wise, as well. It's like the ones I've wanted to attack aggressively have been like easier to pick, but there's been a bunch of them where it's like you don't know what's going to happen yet. And I'm pretty looking forward to this week. Week 1 was pretty spectacular for content wise, but also just viewing wise. It was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Real quick before we sign off, how did you feel about your childhood idol Joe Buck getting inducted into the Hall of Fame?
Man, I don't understand the hate that Joe Buck gets, man. I think him and Troy Aikman are unbelievable together, and Joe Buck, he's just not good at football. Baseball, he's just as good. Yeah, I'm happy for him. You know, his dad was a legend as well. But yeah, I love Joe Buck as a commentator.
So my only thing, golf. I didn't like him with the U.S. Open. That was about it.
It feels like he was just trying a little bit too hard. You know what I mean? Fox getting it. They were trying to make a name for themselves. I get it, but yeah, he wasn't the greatest. But I think a little bit more time, it would have been second nature to him. How about the members at Wingfoot though? Jim Nance, Dan Hicks, Rick Pitino. Must be nice to have that much money to be able to be a member at Wingfoot, huh?
Right? Like, who would have thought? Not me. That's stupid of me. Who would have thought? Not me. All right.
I'd just be like, oh, how much is initiation? $150K? Yeah, no problem. Here you go.
That's it? Okay, yeah.
I know. I thought you were going to say more. Yeah, I just got that in my car.
So what was your lock bet? Did you have one this week?
Yeah. Yours was the Rams. Mine was the Vikings.
Oh, the Vikings. That's right. The Bills are decent too. So Rams, Vikings, lock bets this week. Let's hope we can go 4 for 4. That'd be pretty darn sweet. Although I have a strong feeling we're gonna go at least 3 for 4 here, which would be a great start to the season.
Yeah, hopefully, man.
I know. All right, that was beating the house with Hazy. I'm
Be in the
Eric.
house with me, bud. Yep.
Him right there on your left hand side of the screen. You're gonna beat the house with that guy right there. Oh
The
yeah.
fake hat. The fake hat tip.
I can't even do it either.
Yeah, you can do it from behind.
Yeah, oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give us a like.